Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Feminine Legacy Podcast. This is your host, Jackie Ma, and today is January 4th. It's Tuesday, so I'm just dropping a personal video. Next week, we'll start to pick up an interview again. But I wanted to come through today, and there are people that are in the inquiry of like, what's the deal with New Year's? Which is great, actually, because more people, it goes to show you that there's more consciousness on this planet. Because I have to tell you, for years and years, everybody was just following suit with the Gregorian calendar and really not even aware that somebody implemented this calendar and that there was a way of doing it before and still that a great deal of other people are using cycles and seasons. So let's get in and talk a little bit about the new year. So first, if you don't know, it was in I think it's 1582 is what I learned. And that is when Pope Gregory implemented the Gregorian calendar in Rome. And this was not the calendar that was used before. And there's a lot of storyline behind it around the god. If you know anything about Rome or anything in the world back in the day, everything was about a deity. Everything was about a god and a goddess. And it's what they use to explain consciousness. A lot of times they were actual physical beings, and a lot of times it was just a way of explaining consciousness. So it's good to keep that in mind, and I'll talk more about that in the future. But these words, these gods, these deities are like encapsulation of frequencies and a deeper understanding of what is being expressed and experienced as an archetype, as a consciousness figure. So at that time, there was like a two-headed god, Jupiter, which sounds a little bit like Mercury, but I don't know. So I'm not familiar with that archetype. I may be familiar with that consciousness, but the point is, this was a man-made holiday. It was a way of tracking time. And so this is the collective consciousness agreed at some level that this was going to be the calendar we were going to essentially use. And so therefore, it's a real thing. So absolutely, if to acknowledge that the numbers have changed, there is also a numerology here. To acknowledge that the numbers have changed, that's a great way, to just be aware that, yeah, there's new energy that's coming in. But I'm somebody who likes to look at the full trajectory, and not everybody is operating in the same sphere of influence. We are being influenced all day, every day, by the sun, the stars, the moon, above and below, by our collective field, by our families, by our ancestors. And I teeter with that lightly because I want to honor that each one of us is a sovereign being. Right. So really becoming aware that there are external influences, and my work and the work I do with others is to really cultivate the inner sanctity and the sovereignty within, so that you are less likely to be hindered, to be deployed outside of your divine nature, so that you are more rooted in who you are and less easily swayed by the tides, by the nature, that you can hold down a little bit while the illusion is moving. So I'll just also say that a lot of women work with the moon cycles, and that can be really beautiful. I don't. It's not because I don't agree with the fact that the moon certainly has an impact on us. I have seen women become dissuade and cultivate outside of themselves instead of cultivate the cycle and the power from within the nature of the divine feminine. And so I like to really, really hone in and work from within, being aware of the external influence and using the times of the moon cycles that may be beneficial, because there is a collective field that is accessible. But I really like to deeply root and become aware of what's happening inside of my sphere, How can I become strong? How can I become balanced and supple and sovereign? So then I can be like, oh, okay, what's influencing? Where are the high influences coming from? I can become introspective in that way, but I can't become introspective about the external, the whole. And I say external, but is it really external? We're connected to everything. But until I at least even know that I'm sovereign and that I have a say to some degree as to where my energy is going and how I'm operating. Does that make sense? Capiche? Um, so as it pertains to the Gregorian calendar, for me personally, yes, I said Happy New Year, bless, 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 because I love to bless people every day of the year, not just because it's a new year, but it gives you an opportunity for sure to use the language and share happiness and kindness with others. Because how many days of the year do we actually do that? Do you actually go around telling people that you love them and you wish them happiness? So use that time. So, you know, I want to start by talking about the cycles and the seasons. Our ancestors and the ancients, which I draw upon that wisdom because they were intelligent. I don't just take information lightly that like that's the way it was practiced before, so that's the way we should practice it now. No, I'm a woman that sits in the modern era and really gets to, consistently look and see what works for this time, what doesn't work, and continue to be fluid and learn and grow. But I will say the Babylonians, they had their shit together in this way. And I believe, and it feels right and true for me, that the true actual new year would be more towards the vernal equinox, really moving into spring, the time of Inanna Ishtar, the time of bloom. So the time of Easter. So we'll get into that. So when I really listen to my body and I listen to the intelligence and the wisdom, it tells me that, yeah, this Gregorian calendar it's a human thing that we've done, but in essence and in truth, it it cannot be real because it does not it cuts off a cycle. So, winter is one of the most primordial, most powerful, regenerative, decaying times that each one of us moves through. You can understand that if you live in a place where the terrain is an actual 4-season place where you get to see, like New York. I'm in New York, right? So we really see the 4 seasons here. And so we get to see how life really moves inside of the human psyche. This is the direct mirror. Most of our society is not aware of that, but it is true. That's why we're not like, I want to hustle and thrive in the winter. We're really getting steeped into the roots, right? We're decaying, we're releasing everything that bloomed, and we're going inward so that we can regenerate, so we can grow again and strengthen, so we can heal. And this is what nature does all the time. All the time. And P.S., I just want to say, just as a side note, because I think it's really important to honor what is greater wisdom truths. The mother, Gaia, as we know, is a Pachamama. In every tradition, she's known as a female entity. She's the Ma. So it's just important to I want to just breathe into her for a minute when I feel into that. Breathing into the Great Mother. So just honoring this like living, breathing entity that we are in communion with. And when we start to drop in and remember that we are part of her cycles, we are part of we're in a union with her, it makes me want to do figure eights, right? There is this cyclical energy of giving, receiving, death, and rebirth that humans have access to. But this is what's been mostly kept from us for the past thousands of years. It's like penetrate, go, 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 without the deep, deep nurture that allows for the incredible penetration. But there's a balance. There's the yin and the yang piece that's really important. And these cycles just represent that, like how to live a life that is more in tune with the brilliance of nature, period. So as it pertains to the calendar year, it makes a whole lot more sense that the year would actually be ending towards maybe even late February. You just start to feel slow changes. You move into the darkness after fall. You start to release all your leaves, you go underground, people go into their homes and snuggle. There's like less outside. You can't go outside really and hang out, right? This is a time of like drinking tea, warming. Then the holy days come, and let's just quickly get into that. So I could see that solstice, which is, December 21st in this neck of the woods, is super high holy time. For me personally, even though there is the essence of birthing the light within, birthing the Christ consciousness, which is a real thing collectively, I still feel like that is a birthing portal of consciousness, but that it's not a full expression of outward birth. That outward birth really gets brought through in April. It's true. And it means like the energy comes through to birth inside the Christ consciousness in, December 21st, that whole time period, that energy, the sun comes in from within and starts to open. And for me, it's like it shows you more, the light shows you more of what's dying inside. And so you can start to consciously release, consciously let go, and go into that deep, deep, dark, fertile winter, which is like, if you don't go in and let go and release and heal and drop all the karmas and, do what just needs to naturally let the nervous system fall apart like a tree, just. And then, come February, you start to feel the momentum growing inside, right? There's something more that opens up in the lungs. There's more of that Christ energy, more of that opening, that fertility starts to come online. And then as we see with March, March 21st, which would be the vernal equinox, by that time, we're just preparing. We're still not fully out though. If you look at nature, she really starts to like, there's little blooms, tree starts to, I want to say squirt, but there's like little growths everywhere that are already starting, but she doesn't fully emerge until it's warm enough, right? Till the conditions are such that she can experience and allow the again, the influences of the surroundings to support her in this co-creation. So for me, solstice is a very powerful time of an inward, a light birthing, so to speak. And then for me, the new year is really like winding into the, February starts to get like, oh, spring is coming, and we start to feel like more is changing. So it doesn't make sense, just like it doesn't make sense for our kids to start school in September in the middle of the darkness. Like there's a lot of things that are off rhythm and disrupt humanity and our nervous systems because we're not operating in congruency with what the nature is actually doing. We are actually operating in a way that some person created that isn't as supportive for our youth. I mean, why in the middle of beautiful fall would you start like eject your kids out when it's time to start coming in? Instead, we're sending them out. So these are important things to look at. Like a greater time for them to be at school would be during summer. when it's bright and the sun is out and their bodies are warmer. And so that way they're not like forced out. They actually are in the circadian rhythm of like, woo, I'm ready to go. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say here. No, I think that pretty much covers it. So there certainly is a reason that you could be using the energy, like if the entire world is using the collective field of like New Year, there are some benefits there. But I will also say, tread lightly, because if you're doing something just because the masses are doing it, you also have to check and be clear, like, is this aligned for me? Am I somebody who follows the crowd? And again, it can be really helpful to use collective energy, but you have to check in and see, who am I? Like, how do I use energy? If the whole world is taking a new pill or a new something, am I somebody that collectively wants to get on board with that? Or am I somebody that can sustain and nurture from within, listen, so that I'm not overly influenced or corrupted from the outside external environment? So just use these energies to sort that out. And if you did celebrate New Year's and made resolutions, I think it's really beautiful to aspire to be your best self and to, to grow and to evolve, and to want to get your money game right. And like all of these things, it's beautiful to, if the desire is authentic in your soul, otherwise you're wasting your time. Oftentimes the soul desire is so much different than what our human ego structures actually want to create in this world. I know this very deeply because I'm living proof of it, and all of us are. Like, we think we want the thing and we get the thing. We don't want it at all because it wasn't our soul that was really calling it in. And this is how we learn and grow. So, the majority, I believe, on the planet pretty much flunks out on their New Year's resolutions. And I can understand why. One is they're not working with soul desires, and they're not deploying spirit, the ancestors, the divine, to support and strengthen their hearts, their souls, and their functionality. So, it might be better to say, I'm ready to heal the distortion and the ingrained dysfunction of my current patterns, than to be like, I'm going to go to the gym every day and I'm going to get skinny. It's like, whoa. Small steps. How can I nurture care for myself? How can I support myself? Really dropping in, like, what is the true dream for me? And then like finding the alignment and saying, show me, God, like, show me, spirit, what is for me? What's going to help me to fulfill my life? What's going to help me to bless others in this world? What's going to help me to sustain and nurture myself financially? Like, these are beautiful questions. How can I serve the whole? Instead of like me, because that is an endless ball of suffering. So just lean into the questions. So you have another opportunity, like, because this was the calendar New Year. This wasn't the New Year with the momentum that is going to grow you and strengthen you. So use this video, use it to prepare you, like, oh, right now I can just let it all go, keep with an open prayer. And then, in February, you can just start leaning back in and be like, spirit, God, whatever, what is it I truly desire? How can I serve the whole? Please start to, fill me with this information. And you'll start to see that there are seeds in you that you want to start working towards and sprouting. And how wonderful to celebrate and come into the new year being a carrier and saying yes to whatever it is that's coming through for you. And with that said, you could also receive this dream seed in the middle of the death. I have certainly done that. Like, I'm grieving and shedding, and spirit will show me, like, here's a project for you for, a year from now. I've had them come in and show me projects that were like from 4 years down the line that I was being prepared for. But it doesn't mean it happens in my timeline. It happens when the divine energy is aligned and it's able to move. So we need to just become aware of that. So, with that said, I hope you found this helpful in some way. Always listen to you, always listen to the truth of you, but always do the research. The times are over where we just follow suit because everybody's doing something. We're becoming older, wiser, more mature. I felt like saying mature. And so, yeah, so find your place and do what's true for you. Um, yeah. And remember, everything we did in the past isn't right or isn't good, but there are reasons. They are our ancestors and the divine. If you look at the temples and you look at the way the world has been constructed all over the world, these people were carrying an intelligence that it's good to refer to. It's really good to check in and be like, why did they do this way? They wouldn't have gone through so much trouble, done all all these things, these elements. You go to Malta, you go to the pyramids, you go to Peru, you go to all these, Guatemala, you go to these places and you see the ancients all over. No matter where in the world you were, they had cohesive wisdom and knowledge that they implemented on the earth, and we would be wise to refer to them and potentially call forth that wisdom and that knowledge to be, you know, implemented now. So thanks for listening. Over and out. Have a wonderful, wonderful day and a wonderful calendar year of 2023. All the blessings to you. Take care now.